Welcome back once again, and thank you for bringing me into your office or living room, bathroom, on your laptop or mobile device, whatever it may be. Today we're still going over state control. This is a little bit of a breakdown of it. So one of the things I used to struggle with quite a bit, and I know a lot of people do, especially getting into business, especially going into chasing their dreams, is anxiety, worry, apprehension. It's pretty common, more common than people would think, especially in America, land of the segments. Excuse me. So I just kind of want to break it down a little bit and give some tips on book knowledge that have really, really helped me. One book that just has a wealth of information is this bad boy right here. It's written by Dale Carnegie, the guy who wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People, and we'll get into what it says in a little bit. But first off, worry is generally about the future. When we're anxious, we're usually thinking about what could go wrong, all the possible things that could go wrong. And as we discussed before, it's Mark Twain who said something along the lines of, "I spent most of my life worrying about things that never came to pass." Worry quite often is unfounded, and I would say usually, the majority of the time, it is unfounded. It's not to say we shouldn't be cautious about the future, especially embarking on a new adventure or an important task. However, getting lost in it, stuck in it, can absolutely be crippling. Worries, evolved form is fear, and fear can absolutely dominate us. It does take time to conquer, though. It took me a while to get over a lot of my anxieties, and I still get my moments of it to this day. Like everybody else, I'm human, and I have a long way to go on my state control and emotional mastery. However, one thing I will say, as I said, it can take a long time to conquer, but by all means conquer. Sometimes distraction is good, to distract ourselves from what we worry about, but that worry will come back. If the worry's crippling us and we can't conquer it at the time, sometimes it's better to run away to fight another day. However, plan to come back and do it to fortify yourself, because it will come back for another attack, and eventually we have to conquer it or we're going to live a miserable life. That said, back to Mr. Carnegie's How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. In the beginning of the book, it talks about living in day-tight compartments. It uses an analogy of a ship. A ship has watertight compartments. At the bottom of the ship, where it's submerged in the water, in case of a hull breach, they have certain doors that close off compartments. So say the ship's about yay long and there's a hole punched right here. A door right here will come down and a door right there will come down. And it will trap that water and keep it from spreading. With anxiety, we need to live in what he calls a day-tight compartment. We have the present right here, and we have our past right here, and our future right here. Now, depression, remorse, guilt, things like that, that's the past, and this works for that too, but right now we're focusing on the future, that anxiety. Close that door to the future. Close that door to the future and focus on where you are right now. This is also discussed in Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. And just sit there and focus on your sensations, how your pants feel when you just have your hand on your leg, or the breeze going by you, or the sound of the cars. What in this current moment do you have to worry about? Once we realize that in this current moment, we're not in a fight or flight mode. There's no lions and tigers and bears, oh my. It's just us. It's here in this moment. There's nothing to worry about. We can then begin to take the next step and actually think about the future, because we must think about the future, and this is a way to conquer that worry. And what's the worst that can happen? We have to visualize it, accept it as possible, and just be comfortable and confident that we'll be ready for it when it comes. And if that's the final outcome, then that's the final outcome. However, it's in the future, so if there's something you're planning on embarking on, And it's, as we discussed before, if it's something worth it, there's going to be fear involved. But if it's something that's totally risky and the risks don't outweigh the benefits, okay, it's in the future. Nix it from your future plans. If it's not something that's that detrimental, and most things aren't, most of us aren't going to be like Evel Knievel jumping motorcycles, or, going on a safari and wrestling tigers. Be comfortable with the outcomes can be comfortable with failure, because the failure will help us learn, as we've talked about so many times before. However, it doesn't mean to concede defeat when we accept the worst that can happen. We're not shooting for the worst that can happen. We're accepting the worst because there's comfort in acceptance, and then we can stop perseverating on that acceptance and stop thinking about the worst that can happen, because when we think about the worst, we're often going to have the worst. We think it, we accept it, we become comfortable with it, and we let it be. And a good thing to say in this is, I think one of the Dalai Lamas said it best, is if there's nothing you can do about it, don't worry. And if there's something you can do about it, don't worry. If there's nothing you can do, it's going to happen. It's out of your hands. It's nothing to worry about. You can't change it. It's just going to happen, so accept it. And if there's something you could do, don't worry, because now you know what you can do, and you can sidestep the obstacle or the pain, or you can find a way to power through, take out your sword, vanquish that enemy, and keep pressing forward. So, that being said, let's all take time after this video to think about something that scares us, and something we may have to do, a conversation with a loved one. Man, I always hated having to let employees go, or, give them a review or a write-up. Or, a potential big client we have to talk to. Let's think about the worst that can happen, accept it, and then start to focus on, okay, now what can we do to make the best of what can happen. That's the other side we have to think of, the best of what can happen, and accept that as a possibility too, but that's a possibility we can work towards. So that being said, I hope everybody's having a wonderful, beautiful, blessed, productive day, morning, evening, whatever, wherever, and I shall talk to you soon. Have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.